I think that there's pretty much nothing that I didn't buy secondhand except the canapé.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not that I don't see value in the new, but it's something that I'm not able to connect with. For me, new has to be old. Because either way, it's new for you, so it doesn't really change much. I like the idea of having pieces that are linked to another past and that are able to express my very own future.
Yeah.
That's...
Welcome to Human Made Homes, a series where we explore fascinating spaces and talk to the humans who create them. Episode 1 is a Paris apartment tour with Danielle, Venezuelan, Parisian, Art Deco enthusiast, secondhand furniture lover. For more, check the description or abra de
We're
paso.
starting this apartment tour. As you mentioned, this is one space. And I think it's awesome how you've managed to divide it.
The thing is that it was empty, so I needed to construct spaces so where I could actually put stuff in. You need to generate as well to be able to like hide stuff, because we all get our dirty laundry that we have to like trash. But at the same time, generate some kind of mood. It was about creating spaces that you could actually define like a use to the space without actually really putting it to violent. I wanted plants. I didn't want to like put holes into the walls and stuff. So I'm going to be saying this a lot.
Okay.
But this is one of my favorite pieces in the apartment. It's an Art Deco Select from the 20s. I bought it on Le Bon Coin. When I first bought the plant, it was a baby plant when I was here, and it costed like 20 euros in Monsieur Bricolage. I was so scared of buying a plant because I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep it alive.
I feel seen.
And I knew that I wanted something that was going to be flowing. I think that there's pretty much nothing that I didn't buy secondhand except the canapé.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not that I don't see value in the new, but it's something that I'm not able to connect with. For me, new has to be old. Because either way, it's new for you, so it doesn't really change much. I like the idea of having pieces that are linked to another past and that are able to express my very own future. That's... And the first piece that I bought is the canapé, la maison convertible. It costed a fortune, but well, we talked about it before. After living at friends' houses for so long and being a student, I said to myself, I need something that is going to be carrying the weight of my old age. As it was very gray, it's the same color of the floor. I said, okay, this is going to be this, and maybe another thing is going to be gray, but I really want to bring something a little bit more natural and maybe a little bit more organic.
Got it.
When I decided to begin my apartment, I didn't really say to myself, my apartment is going to be Art Deco, or my apartment is going to be Scandinavian. As I didn't know really about like interior design, I just wanted to focus on the pieces. Everything I think began with like this view, and I knew that okay, I have like this very beautiful wood and glass. How do I bring it into the space? And so I began by saying, okay, I will be needing wood, especially because everything was very white. What I love about wood is how 360 it can be, everything depends on the grain, on the colors, and even if the colors is not the same as this, with the grain you still create a beautiful story.
Well, thank you for telling us about your process, because that was one of the questions I had. So I love it, especially when you talked about translating kind of like the feeling and bringing it into like the 3D. I love that. This is the second space. About this idea of like kind of like staying in flow, but also letting different elements of your home be who they are. So can you tell us about this beautiful chair and also the space we're in?
This was like the mini reading spot. I knew that I wanted a chair that was going to be be big and also like, you know, practical.
Yeah.
You come in and you take away and you put your
It's the chair.
It's the chair. At the beginning, I didn't know what direction I was going in. I didn't really know designers. I didn't really know the names of the things, but I knew that I wanted it to be something that was going to be in my mood and in my price range.
You know what? And I love this.
I just put the most basic name, chair wood. And so I swiped and I scrolled, found the black one, I see that it's Boman, and I said, okay, maybe let me find Bomans. And so I put brown armchair, and I found this, which is a Boman.
Yeah.
Now I can start name dropping. I see that this one is 80 euros. Voilà. It was in Saint-Ouen.
Okay.
I brought it in the metro, you know. I spent 80 euros, but I'm not spending 30 euros. One of my main concerns were like the shoes. I see that a lot of people either have them on the floor, either have like special. I'm not into the collection aspect of stuff. I found like this way of like putting archives and folders away, and I said, oh, that could actually be a thing. This, I got it in a Bon Coin at 10 euros. I thought that I could actually make something happen that isn't actually meant for shoes, but that can hold shoes. So I found this meuble de classeur, and it holds all my shoes. Obviously, sometimes it can be very complicated to let close, but you take it away. So I grew up with my mother. She really was a woman about collection. She's always been a woman that did a lot with her hands. She has like a ceramics collection. She started doing little sculptures. She exposed every single thing that she did. And I realized that I'm like my grandmother. I like little stuff. I like telling stories. I like objects. I like how I'm able to translate who I am in a 3D way. I've always been a fan of Harry Potter, and if you've watched Harry Potter, you know that the prophecy looks like something like this. This was a little bit like, how do I integrate, not color, because I wanted everything to be the same color, but texture. So you have wood, you have bronze, but this, for example, I got it from my grandmother. This is fun.
As you may have noticed by now, a lot of the home decor Daniel chose for his Parisian apartment is very intentional and has a history. Daniel's bronze Virgin Mary is a reminder of his childhood, growing up in Venezuela, and the religious figurines he was used to seeing there. In his words, this bronze Virgin Mary is the perfect mix of aesthetic and memory.
So then I have the conversation between like these materials. I discovered this very beautiful wood called loupe d'or. As my grandmother, very obsessive. So this was like 5 euros, this was like 7. And the lamp, this was the moment in which I said to myself, okay, I'm having too much wood, I'm having too much metal, I need something different. And so I said to myself, boom, marble could be a nice way. And over there as well, the little boxes. I always wanted all the accessories of my house to make sense. I want them still to have a use and not be completely just like decoration. Some people that have designer pieces, they're going to be very proud into their pieces, and so when they're going to sell it, they're going to say it. But most of the people don't really know, you know. For example, I grew up in a household, I had no conscience whatsoever of what interior design was. So I grew up with this stuff and these pieces, and they were part of my life without really understanding what they were. When I started to make in my space and like finding and seeing, that I realized that I was surrounded maybe by pieces that were like iconic design. What I think is that when people are going to sell, sometimes they're not interested in like giving super much information, either because they don't have time or because they don't know. Most of the time people, they're just going to put, this is a wood chair, and they're going to fling it. I think that when you're beginning to create your space, either you're like very academic, but the easiest way is like just letting your very own taste dictate you the way.
Okay, so we're discovering more of your space. We were talking about sit and see and coffee tables. Can you tell us more about these?
I was talking about that I wanted wood, the conversation with the materials.
This idea of different materials having conversations is a theme that you will find throughout Daniel's apartment. There are clear, distinct stories. There is the wood story, an aluminum and metal story, glass and marble elements.
Very quickly I realized that I was going to need a little bit more of light, because wood is not something that actually diffuses light, but it's something that takes. What makes more sense, it's like maybe to bring some see-through and some lighting through metal and glass that could actually mirror the glass that is there. Honestly, I just, again, glass table on Celency and on Le Bon Coin as well. I found these 3 ones at 80 euros again. I mean, and they work super well. Yeah. While scrolling, you know, I found these, and I found this. It's ashtrays. It keeps going into the direction that it's beautiful, but it has some this simple ashtray, Emmaüs, 15 cents. This, it's candle holders. These 15 euros, toujours en Le Bon Coin.
Yeah.
This is actually a durian box.
Okay.
I got it in my trip to Bali. They're very good with wood carving. This is something that I got from Bali as well. The first thing that I bought, as I said, was the couch, and then for a year there was nothing else. My clothes were on racks and stuff. The 2 first things were this and this. I understood very quickly that it was a Scandinavian design, and it's kind of like, okay, that's the direction that I'm going for the closet. But I kept on seeing, and everything was like 600 euros, 700 euros, 1000. But you know, I never lost hope, and I just kept on looking and looking and looking, and at some point, really out of the blue, I see that one old sir is selling this with the bed that goes together for like 250. And I was like, I remember I saw that, I started trembling. I was like, oh my god, I really need to go and buy it now.
This may have been one of my favorite stories that Daniel told me about building his space. So, he didn't have a car to transport the furniture, but thankfully his best friend, who is a pro at buying secondhand, recommended he uses an app called Cocolie that will come and transport everything back to his place. Daniel was immediately enamored with the Scandinavian wardrobe. He met the 2 sellers, and something beautiful happened while they talked. They ended up showing him more chairs that Daniel left with, 2 that you can see in his Parisian home. 1 he sold, and the last one he gave to a friend. My favorite part of this story is how, upon learning that Daniel had just moved in his space, both of these people came together to offer some help, trusting that the furniture would be in good hands in Daniel's home.
So for 250 I got this, a bed, 2 chairs, 4 chairs. I was really like, wow, okay. It took me some time, but it's beginning right, you know?
This idea of like buying secondhand, how people are like, hey, like, would you like something more? They're not asking you to pay more for it.
No.
There's something human about it, you know?
And honestly, this story, what I remember the most when I see it, the generosity of these guys, you know, it was very, very, very beautiful.
Now we have this piece that we kind of been like teasing.
It's the one that I spend the most money on. Part of like the major pieces of the house. It cost 700 euros. I found it on Celency, which is probably the reason why it costed so much. So I knew that I was going to need pieces of furniture that were going to allow me to store things, because, well, the apartment was empty and it has no closet, no anything. And so I remember I had seen that one and I fell in love. It had like the glass thing, which is black, but the contrast with the wood grain. The other one was also black. It was like 400 euros. And so my best friend, I showed her both the options, and she simply told me, Daniel, if you really love that piece, it makes no sense for you to choose something that was only going to blend better. Just go for it, and because you felt that attraction to it, you're going to be able to construct a story around it. My idea of interior design is not really one of putting contrasting things, but it's about finding same colors and materials that can say like a cohesive story, or that if they are in clash, it works well because the mix makes it smooth. My best friend had given me this. It's from a Mallorca artist, and at the beginning I didn't really know how to make it work, and so that's where I found what I gently called my popcorn ceramic. This costed like 38 euros, and this, the idea is like for it to give the impression that it's a vase, but it's not a vase at all. It's meant to be it's actually meant to be an applique.
we're kind of getting to the end of this tour. I had a few questions, just to ask you. One of them is about your influences, I guess, because you talked about like some designers and also this idea of like minimalism, but also maximalism speaking to you.
I've always considered myself a minimalist at heart. I think it's about having stuff that really answer to a certain use, and so I think in that aspect I am a minimalist. I can't really say that I'm only Art Deco, I can't really only say that I'm Scandinavian, because what I like about everything is that there is cohesiveness. It's a way of, for me, expressing myself and telling my very own story. No, I like that my space is as complex as I hope that I am, you know. I am Venezuelan, but I am French, I am Parisian, I have lived so many things. I'm extremely inspired also by what America is. There's ways of integrating everything that I've seen, that I've read, that I've watched in movies, and I like that idea of maybe controlled complexity.
That's a very beautiful way to look at a space. This idea of like bringing different parts of who you are into your space. I have another question that kind of came to me. Let's say somebody comes to you and is like, hey, I just moved into this space. Is there anything that you'd really like to tell them?
Let's begin by simple things, you know, what are your most favorite materials, what are your favorite colors, and mix that up with the idea of what do you need. Just think about, okay, if I need storage for something, let's find beautiful storage, and you'll be able to integrate that. For example, for the shoes, who says that you cannot put them in those beautiful boxes? There's like many ways of understanding your space. The most important, from what I understand today, is that I really feel connection, be it a piece of furniture, decoration, and I say to myself, wow, this is something that I need. I think that you need to believe into your intuition, in your taste, and understanding that when you make a choice based on heart, it can never be wrong.
Oh, I love that. Speaking of heart, I was telling you that one of the things I'm doing this season is changing the name of the series to Human Made Homes. And so I kind of wanted to know like what that evokes for you and how you feel like this space has impacted you and how you feel like you've impacted the space you're in.
For me, when we're talking about human made home, it's the idea that you take a space and you make it reflect what you have inside. And that reflection can come through many ways. But I think what is beautiful about a human-made home is that idea that you can go into a space and understand the story.
Thank you, that was beautiful. It's very vulnerable and beautiful to see you move through your space. It just feels very in flow, you know, you've just created a space that just feels very personal, and as you've said, like it tells your story, which I think is wonderful. I think we've arrived after hours, y'all. We've been talking especially
so much.
We've arrived at the end of this episode, and I wanted to thank you again for having me. It's been wonderful. I just feel very recharged. So yeah, thank you again. Thank you all for watching. And before we close out, could you give us again your information for people who want to find you and maybe learn a bit more about your story?
So you can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. If I'm not mistaken, it should be Albodolan.
Everything will be linked in the description down below, and I will put on the screen your ads as well for people who want to go and learn more about you. As always, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this series, there's 2 other seasons that you can go and check out on my channel, and I'll see you all next week. Bye! Okay. So you said when you first got this piece of furniture, you had a lot of pieces that were made of aluminum. What made you think, okay, I think I want to bring different colors? Because I think in your space, it's very intuitive.
Yeah, when I started the decoration path, I played it very safe. And I knew I was being very safe. And I think that it's a feeling. There's a moment in which when you integrate the fact that you were being safe, you know that at some point you want to bring something else. I felt the need of exploring new things, you know. Honestly, I'm still very safe because it's still the same colors, it's still very earthy and very light. Little by little, I'm going to start integrating more and see how I can actually make all of these things have conversation with other stuff.
Okay.
Da, da, da. なるほど。
erogato. How does a space transforms into a home? What makes someone choose vintage instead of new? Minimalism instead of maximalism? Hi everyone, my name is Abra, and I love to talk all things home decor. More specifically, witnessing the process behind the creation of a home. The transformation of 4 basic walls into a unique place full of life. So, I created a home tour series that does just that. At first, I mostly filmed with my friends in their Parisian apartments, but with time came travels and episodes in New York City, Brooklyn, Amsterdam, Berlin, London. The new season is right around the corner. In episode 1, we are back in Paris with Daniel and his Art Deco inspired home. As we journey through season 3 and are invited in new human-made spaces, we will explore decor tips for small spaces, Parisian flea market addresses, vintage finds, storage recommendations, and hopefully gems that you will be able to take away with you. Each episode will focus on a human and the home they have intentionally carved for themselves. The series now counts 16 episodes, all available on my YouTube channel at Abra da Grasa. If you or someone you know would like to be featured on new episodes, feel free to message me on socials at Abra da Grasa across platforms, or simply email me. Happy watching!